it going? Welcome back to the 12 Man podcast. This week we're just going to touch on a few midweek games, what's gone wrong with Liverpool and the Frank situation. So just start off with you, Carl, just a quick run through of Villa and Newcastle.
Yeah, it was not a good win for Villa. We've already spoke about them, of how good of a season they're having. But they were kind of blessed with the first goal that they got from Watkins. Don't know what Shah was doing for defending, kind of just put into no man's land, and Watkins was there to put it in. And then Traore with a great goal, Grealish out on the wing, the usual. He picks the right pass into the feet of Traore and he put the top corner. Apart from that, apart from 2 goals, there's not really much else to say about the match.
Yeah, just a boring enough game overall, but a good win for Villa, as you said. Liverpool, lads, what's the verdict? I'll go to you first, Connor. Been a poor few weeks and things aren't looking good for the mighty Reds of Liverpool, you know?
Yeah, it's been probably the toughest 4 weeks, past 3 years Liverpool have seen. Coming into the Burnley game, I felt it was a must-win game, especially for a title charge. But it just wasn't there again. It was the same sloppiness the past 3 weeks. Just the exact same, lack of creativity. And then when we got that chance, Origi, what was he doing? Like, blasting the thing. It was a one-on-one. Anybody else, I would have firmly been confident for him to score. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you're dealing with now, for him to come off the bench and try and make a difference. I know he dropped Salah that game, and you can't expect Origi to come in and fulfill them boots when you see things like that. He just did not right here. Seeing few minutes after the miss, he was there laughing to the referee, like, what are you doing?
It's not what you want to see, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You should be devastated missing that opportunity. But then, lack of creativity again. I thought Thiago wasn't really up to much, but he was decent, he was grand. But then, poor goal to give away. I think it was a bit poor from Alisson to jump in like that, but you can't really, he's due 1 or 2 mistakes a season. What?
If Inu at fault, could have done a bit better.
Yeah, obviously, and he could have done
a bit safer with it, yeah.
Yeah, but disappointing. Shane, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you, Connor. Obviously, good result for Burnley, poor result for Liverpool. I'm sick of saying that now in the last few weeks. But yeah, I don't know. You could say that it was a confident type of finish from Origi, but I don't think it. Some people could. I don't think it was at all. I think if you're confident, you're cool and composed, and you just slot it in bottom corner. You know, I think Mane was to
put it away. Yeah,
completely open goal. He could have if he had a bit more awareness about him, he could have just gave the pass off to Mane. Yeah, Peno, it's a bit annoying. I think, obviously, I don't even blame Alisson coming out for the ball like that. I think he had a chance of getting there. I think the ball was literally out, going out of play regardless. But I think if a penalty wasn't given for Alisson, there could have been a penalty given for kind of Fabinho dragging him, or else a free in the edge of the box regardless. But yeah, overall, just really disappointing, and it's just not what any of us needed as a Liverpool fan.
One thing that I noticed was, well, you have said it yourselves, Henderson. He seems to be missing. I haven't seen anything saying why he's out. I presume it's COVID.
Yeah.
But it's once again proven how vital that man is to us. And when you're missing Henderson, Van Dijk, 2 leaders, I feel like Liverpool are lacking a leader in there at the minute. Like someone to go grab the game. Fabinho, great player and all, but I don't think he has the leadership qualities. You know, I think that's something they lack. Who would you say is the leader in the team at the minute?
Probably have to say the likes of Milner. I don't know, he's the experience, but he doesn't really play that much. Then
you know what I mean. This is what you're dealing with, yeah.
Robertson as well. But coming into the United game, I thought it was a good opportunity to get a win and boost up their confidence, and maybe then kick on and forget about the past few weeks. But to be honest with you, after the United game, I was feeling optimistic. I was actually happy that the 2 goals that Salah scored. I think the match could have went either way. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel if we had bought a centre half, if we had Van Dijk or Gomez or Matip in there, it'd be a different game completely. I thought Reece Williams was a complete bag of nerves, and I was kind of rethinking what I said in the last podcast about Klopp's decision to drop Henderson back. And looking back on it now, after seeing that performance by Reece Williams, I know he had a few before. I don't think he's good enough. And I think Klopp probably made the right decision to put Henderson in them games because he has.
You're saying there that you think Williams isn't good enough.
Yeah.
So he has to play Henderson at centre back. Like I'm kind of looking at the bigger picture for Liverpool at the minute because he can't realistically, do you think he's coming to the league this year in the position you're in? Being very realistic here now, do you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
In the position you're in now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're very optimistic there, but realistically, I don't think you can.
How the hell can you say we were optimistic? No, we were. What are you on about? Like we were top of the table.
You haven't won in 5 games. You can barely score a goal.
Well, you haven't won in 5 games, and we're still only 6 points off. Like
I personally think you can't win the league. I think it's yourself.
I think you're getting a bit too excited that United are sitting at the top of the table, mate.
It's not even that. I think the gap's too big now. You have fallen off a cliff.
Like, what are you talking about? The gap is
the gap's too big, man. It's proven this season that the gap is nothing.
Yeah, I know. Looking at this Liverpool team, like there's like every player that has been good for the last 3 years is underperforming. Like it's gonna take a big confidence boost. Like I just don't see it happening. And like that's.
Do you not think Klopp's the man to get them to turn around and get them flying again? No.
He could do, but like it's been so good the last 3 years. It was bound to stop, and this is where it's looking like it's gonna stop. That's
what he prides himself on, though, as a manager. You know, man management, love to the players, and obviously he's a different man behind closed doors. But I think this is going to be a huge test in Klopp's career. This end of the season.
Yeah,
if he goes and wins the league this season,
I can't see him getting the way it's gone. Like they've fallen off a cliff massively the last month from the standard that they set. Like I'm just saying that purely based off the standard that they've set. The best team in the last 3 years.
Liverpool's performances haven't been good enough to pass since they won the league. Since they won the league, their performance.
Yes, so what makes you say that they can take that they can bring it back to that standard?
Because they're playing terrible and
you're going on that it's the past 4 or 5 weeks. It's not. It's since they won the league.
So you're literally like kind of contradicting yourself there.
No, not at all.
What makes you say that they can get back after a months of underperforming?
Because you're top of the table at the start of January.
Yeah, and now other teams are stepping up to. Like
they're still hung over from winning the league.
Carlo, I don't think.
I just don't think Liverpool are going to win the league, and I think you need to start looking at the bigger picture at this stage.
But what is the bigger picture?
You're getting way too ahead of yourself.
I don't think so. I think at this stage you have to be looking at the bigger picture and see what's best for the future.
What is the bigger picture then?
I think there's going to need to be a few more additions into the squad. Because as
can I ask you one thing?
Let me speak and prove my point here. So a few additions to the squad need to be made. We can see Klopp does not trust the backup centre backs in Williams and Phillips, as he has not played them in games. So that's a player or two needed in defence. I know Van Dijk's coming back from injury, and so is Gomez. Luckily enough, Gomez has age on his side, but Van Dijk doesn't. He's 29. He's coming back from a long-term knee injury. Will he be the same? Will he set that standard of being the best centre back in the world again, coming back from such a bad injury at that age? The chances are very unlikely.
I have a question for you. How come you didn't say this 4 or 5 weeks ago when Liverpool topped the league?
Because they were performing then, and now they're not performing.
No, they weren't even performing.
They can't even create chances.
How come you're jumping to conclusions after such a small space of time? This idea just came into your head. This idea just came into your head 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, you're saying Liverpool are going to come on and win the league. And
I thought they were going to go on to win the league.
You never had an opinion that Liverpool needed a rebuilding phase, as you were saying earlier to me. They're saying Liverpool need this rebuilding phase 4 weeks ago.
I think they do, because you look at the squad, as I said to you, there's 2 players needed as backup centre-backs in the squad. I'm talking about in the squad. Moving into the midfield, I think you can build a midfield around Thiago, Henderson and Fabinho. Obviously, Fabinho will be the sitter. Henderson can kind of be the runner, and Thiago will dictate, but age isn't on their side. I think Henderson's 30, Fabinho's 27. I reckon he has a year or 2 left, and then Thiago's 29. I don't think that.
Okay, well, can I ask you something? How can you say Fabinho only has a year or 2 left when Thiago's 29?
Fabinho's 26 or just gone 27.
Okay, well, maybe Fabinho has a few more years on his side, but looking at the bigger picture still.
A few more years. He has 3 or 4 years.
Why would you say bigger picture?
Because sometimes you just need to look at the bigger picture.
You're just after naming 7 or 8 core players that you could build your team around. If them people that...
Yeah, but as I said of Van Dijk, will he come back the same? 29 and a long knee injury. Like, you can't really put all your eggs in one basket with him, thinking he's going to come back and be the best centre defender in the world again. Like, after coming back from such a bad injury at that age, you can't.
If there's any player that's going to come back from an injury like that, it's Van Dijk. Apparently, he's absolutely eating the training. He's way ahead of schedule, man. He's an absolute specimen. Yeah, he might. Of course, there's uncertainty, but like, I can't believe you're just ruling out every single thing to do with Liverpool at the moment. Like, I think you're way in over your head.
Carlo, I think this is more hope from you than anything else.
How is it more hope? It's facts. Like, they do need to make something, because the backup centre backs at the minute are not good enough, and you need a good squad. It's proven.
Carlo, if you start the season, how many centre halves do United have that will play? 3 probably.
4.
Who's the 4th?
Davey.
Who?
Killing Davey.
He hasn't played a game.
When has he played?
Yeah, he had a back in his pocket.
He hasn't played a game.
Right, so if United lost Maguire and Bailey
4 months ago, that was. The fella hasn't played in 4 months.
If United go on,
boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if United lost Maguire and Bailey at the start of the season for the whole season, do you think they'd still be performing as well as they are?
And Lindelof having on and off injuries.
Yeah,
so let me ask you this: do you think Liverpool need to make signings in defence to improve the team?
100%, because they've lost.
It's not a rebuild.
I just said that about Reece Williams. If we had
let me get to my next point then. There's 1 or 2 signings that you need in defence. I think you need another 1 or 2.
One sign in defence.
One signing because you lost three centre backs. If we didn't lose 3 centre backs, you wouldn't really be questioning that position that much.
Yeah, but you have lost them.
Yeah, but they'd be back.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying about Van Dijk, he's 29, coming back from a knee injury. Like, the chance.
Yeah, you've said it 3 times.
Yeah, but you keep going on it, like saying that the injuries are not saying that he's 29. Like, the chance of him coming back and performing the way he did are very slim. No, he's
getting away from all this crap, lad. All right, getting away from all this here. What do you Liverpool fans think is the reason that you aren't scoring goals? You haven't got a goal in 4 games. It's a big issue. What do you think is the reason behind that? I'll start with you, Shane.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot to do with it. Geez, my mind's gone blank for a second there, but yeah. Right, so I want to first of all talk about the likes of Trent and Robertson. I think it's clear to everyone that since the start of the season, not just in the last 4 weeks, can we agree Trent hasn't been great. He has 2 assists this season, which is unheard of him for himself. I think teams are setting up a lot better, not letting their fullbacks get forward as much. I'm not saying that's an excuse at all, but when your fullbacks have been pretty dominant for the last couple of years, I think teams are obviously going to learn from it.
Big thing, yeah.
And set up a lot better and stuff like that. The reason why we're not scoring goals, like as much as easy as an excuse it is, like at the moment we just have a drop in form. Like Mane at the moment this season is averaging a goal every 250 minutes, which is almost a goal every 3 games. Last season it was every 130 minutes or something like that. So you know what I mean? Like Mane is not playing well. Salah arguably, like he's still scoring goals, but he's not playing as well and as well as he could be. And Firmino as well. Like Firmino's originally brought in, like, you know what I mean? He's there to assist, but like to also chip in and score goals when he's needed, and he hasn't been doing that himself. I think if you swap Origi with even Diogo Jota with that thing, I think Jota's putting it away. You know what I mean? So obviously, injuries takes a big takes it into account. Even though we haven't had, I know Jota been injured, but it's mainly defenders that have been injured. I think it takes into, like, it definitely has an effect on us scoring goals as well. Because
question for you now, Shane. Do you not think he needs to make signings so when you do have injuries, you have players you can rely upon? No.
What make signings where?
For like, as you said, you can't rely upon Origi to come in. Like, do you not think he needs signings?
But that's hold on. Yeah, but that's why we signed. That's why we signed Jota.
Yeah, but
we can't just go. We can't just.
He's back fit, no? Is he not back in fit?
Yeah, but hold on. We signed him at the start of the season purely for that reason. Like, someone gets injured for a couple of months. Like, we can't just go out and spend another 100 million in January because backup players aren't good enough. Like, you know what I mean?
That's a good point. Connor,
we signed 3 players in the summer. We brought in your man Costas, Thiago, and Jota, and we've been unlucky enough that all 3 of them have been injured. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't understand what you're saying, that we need a rebuilding phase. We need to make more signings. We've made 3 signings at the start of the season after just winning the league. We've been very unfortunate that the 3 of them have been injured. We've also lost 2 centre backs. Just because we've been so unfortunate with injuries doesn't mean that we need a big, massive rebuilding phase. Like, we're top of the table at the start of January. Jota's going to be back. You know what I mean? give us a bit of time, man. You're ruling us out after 4 bad games, like.
Yeah, sticking with anyway, and the question I asked Shane, what do you think the problem is with not scoring goals? Big deal, needs to be fixed.
Yeah, other than a complete dip of form from the start of the season and last year, I think it's clear there's a dip of form. I think Henderson dropping back to centre half is a huge loss as well. I think he complements the fullbacks especially very well, giving them an option now forward and beside them. But I also think when you're missing Van Dijk and Gomez, who could play that aerial pass, crossfield ball to the likes of Salah and Mane and miss the midfield, which I think we're missing. I don't think Fabinho would really have that long range passing ability. He kind of likes to keep it short.
Yeah.
I don't think Williams has the passing ability. I don't think Phillips has that passing ability. We've seen that especially from Van Dijk, that ball, that switch 60, 70 yards. Salah gets it and he's away. He's attacking at a full back. So I think that's a bit of lack of creativity and a bit of that as well, but just has to do better.
Yeah, worrying times for Liverpool going forward and possibly at the back as well. But
one last small point I just want to make is obviously, it's obvious that there's been a complete drop in Liverpool's form. But like, look at last season, we beat City by 18 points. United were third, but we beat them by 33. Like, look at City now. Look at United now. Like, there's been a drop in form in Liverpool, but there's been an absolute increase in form by the majority of teams in the Premier League: Aston Villa, Leicester, City, United. You know what I mean?
Spurs.
Like, it's Liverpool up there, their form drops. Spurs, they were down. Everyone else down here, their form comes up. You know what I mean? You have to give credit to the other teams as well, because they're almost every team at the moment has made it.
I do think it's a bit of both, though. I think it's Liverpool came back to the pack, and the pack got a bit closer to Liverpool more than everyone just caught up to Liverpool. You know what I mean? So with the big news of Chelsea letting go of legend Frank recently, Carlo, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago I was on the side of giving them to the end of the season at least, but it's just recent performances, especially against City and Leicester, like the top teams around the top half of the table that you think Chelsea should be competing with. They just got played off the park, tactically and physically played off the park. It just looked like a team that was lost. And seeing some of the stats that were coming out, Frank Lampard, the worst points per game as manager in the Abramovich era, even under Andre Villas-Boas, who you could say was the worst manager in that time. So I think it's warranted and it is deserved, because we all know how ruthless Chelsea are, and I just think with Chelsea fans, they're just like it's almost like he's a club legend, but like I think your playing career goes out the window once you become a manager. Simple as.
That's what I was going to say.
You have been, like, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good manager. I just like, especially like why like we saw all these managers being sacked for underperforming at Chelsea. Like, I just feel like, why does Frank deserve more time than these managers who have a better track record coming from like European clubs or whatever? Like, you have more experience. Frank only has 1 year in the Championship. I don't think 1 year in the Championship warrants more time deserved at a club like Chelsea, who are ruthless.
With being a club legend and all, Connor, what do you think? Should he be given more time, or is it Chelsea way? Keep going. They don't give managers nearly enough time, in my opinion. Or do you think a club legend status warrants a bit longer time?
Yeah, I actually do, because especially the position Chelsea were in when he came in, it was clear that they needed that rebuilding phase. And I think that Frank would have been given objectives to hit at an end of the season, whether that might be top 5 and go on a cup run, or like do well in the Champions League, qualify for the Champions League. I don't know, but I just think it was a bit early to let him go. I think he should have been given to the end of the season to maybe hit them objectives and then see from there, because I think it was clear that it was a rebuilding phase, and I would have thought Abramovich would have gave him a bit leeway, because he was a club legend, and the bond that he has from the players. I think we've seen all the posts that they put out. It kind of was clear that they loved him and they fell for him and they believed in him, that he could take them on a journey. But obviously we all know that Chelsea's ruthless and won't give him the time.
In my opinion with it though, I thought if Abramovich was going to give him the money to go for a so-called rebuilding phase, that's different to bringing in other managers who was just bringing in for just results. A rebuilding phase means, though, that you are going to have to sacrifice a bit of results. I know, obviously, as Pep said the other day, you don't get time for rebuilding things. You have to win and all. But don't give the fella 260 million and then sack him 6 months later when players just haven't settled in and they haven't found a clear way that they want to play, and that does come down to a bit of inexperience. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, I agree. Like, you'll talk about Roman and his history with managers. He sacks managers very easily, but he also, as you said, he doesn't splash out 260 million in one single transfer window either. So I'm good. I'm good for Chelsea fans, good for Frank. You know, I'd like to see how he can do. Does he lack a bit of experience? Yeah, absolutely. But for me, I just think he was definitely sacked too early. That's all I have to say, really. I just think it's way too early to know whether he was going to be able to achieve his goals or not.
Yeah, and
lads, if I could add one more thing on top of that about the signings. Chelsea had a decent enough season last year, got to an FA Cup final and finished fourth. So they qualified for Champions League and they spent that money. So like, what was the minimum you were expecting from Chelsea this season after the players they brought in? After spending all that money, like, expectations were high. They were very high this season for Chelsea. So like, what was the minimum you were expecting?
Top four, definitely.
Yeah, expectations are high, absolutely. Yeah, but it also goes back to they finished fourth, but the Standard League last year was shocking compared to the Standard League this year as well. So it's obviously going to be more like fourth place at the moment. Like, there's 8 teams at top four at the moment. You know what I mean? There was 5 teams last season. So that's,
and it's just, and we'll have, for everyone watching, we'll have Chelsea fans' perspectives coming on our Instagram, and we'll have a Chelsea fan on later on in the week on the YouTube as well. So I think we'll leave it there for today, lads. Thanks very much. And make sure to like and subscribe.